Today, I'm going over the best settings in Rainbow Six Siege, from graphic settings to just basic attachments and all of that. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like, sub, and comment, and let's get right into it. Now, for me, I have a high-end PC. If you're wondering what my specs are, I have a Ryzen 9 5950X with a RTX 3080 Ti. Now, of course, this is on the higher end side, and I'm going to give you a lower end graphic settings here in a second. Now, as you can tell, I literally have almost everything all the way up, besides ambient and lens effects, of course, on, and then NVIDIA DLSS and anti-aliasing, and then there's no target FPS. Literally everything else is like on 100 or a max. Personally, I like this because I find with these settings, when it comes to long range gunfights, the enemies don't look blurry almost, and they just feel like a lot smoother, and my PC can handle it, especially with NVIDIA low latency on. I feel like a lot of the times enemies, I'm being able to, react a little bit quicker, and they just move smoother, if that makes sense. Now, if you are on the low end PC side, we're going to start from the very top down. Texture quality I would have on low. Texture filtering I would have on linear. Usually I try linear, usually on even high settings, when I'm on my normal settings instead of 16x. LOD quality I put it on low. Shading I would have it on maybe medium or low. Shadow quality, this is something you're always going to want to have all the way up on very high, because a lot of times what happens is enemies, when they peek you, you're going to see their shadow, and you will get some very free information, especially on a map like, for example, Clubhouse, when you're holding rafters in garage and you're peeking the garage door. You can see their shadow when it's on very high or high. Keep it on very high. Reflection quality, I would keep it on medium. If you think you can run it on high, I'd run it on high. VFX quality, I would put that on low. Ambient, put it off. Lens effects off. Zoom in, depth of field off. Literally like everything off. You're gonna want to have anti-aliasing on TAA or off. Personally, I would just put it off, but you can try TAA if you want, because it does use less GPU. Now, target FPS, I would just keep that on 0. Now, the only thing I would really put here is maybe the render scaling over to whatever your monitor is. As you can see, mine is 1920 by 1080, and yeah. Now, it does say lower resolutions can drastically improve your frame rate. So if you really got like a bad, like not a bad PC, but like a little bit of a more budget PC, I would maybe try keeping it at 50 and and seeing what happens from there. But I personally just, the render scaling on 100, and it fits my resolution, it just feels better. I'm going to show you guys my 3D settings here in a second for lower end PCs and then higher end PCs, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to adjust desktop color settings. Now, for me, I like to have my brightness on 52, my contrast is on 60, my gamma is on 1.03, my digital brightness is on 73. Now, the digital brightness is really what's going to make the color go up. As you can tell, it's desaturated right now, and it goes a little higher. The reason why I have it like this, especially in games like Siege and Valorant, I feel like it helps enemies pop out a little bit more, and especially like it helps with my eyes really react a lot quicker. Once again, this is personal preference, and this is something I really enjoy, especially with having a NVIDIA card. By the way, when you go to your change resolution, that you are on the refresh rate that your monitor is set. For some of you guys, I know you probably just plugged in your display port and it's not automatically set. I've seen so many people have this issue, and they'll be like on 60 goddamn hertz. So make sure whatever your refresh rate is to have it in, and make sure that you're not plugged in via HDMI cable into your PC, because a lot of you guys, when you switch over to PC, you guys will plug in your HDMI into the motherboard. It's supposed to be in the GPU. So yeah, and if you're wondering why you're getting limited amount of refresh rate, it's because you don't have a display port. You probably have an HDMI cord. So yeah, you might have bought a monitor that might be 360 hertz and you might only be getting 120, and that's because you have an HDMI cable that only supports pass-through for that. So make sure you have a display port. Anyways, so let's go to my manage 3D settings. First, if you go to adjust image settings with preview, I have mine on performance. I think that quality just eats up way too much FPS, to be honest. But you could try balanced if you have a decent PC. But even now, I'm running on performance because I want my game to run as smooth as possible. But sometimes I do notice on performance versus quality that, as you can tell, that on performance, there's like these disgusting edges around enemies sometimes, but on quality they're very smooth, and it's more satisfying to, you know, look at. And sometimes when people peek you, they look like little Roblox characters at the edges. So it's really up to you what you guys want to try there. Now when it comes to the 3D settings, I'm going to go through this very quickly. This is honestly what I use, and I think that most people that have even a lower end PC should be using. Literally almost everything is off besides gamma correction is on. As I'm saying, like, everything is basically off. If you want to pause it, please do. Monitor technology, fix refresh. If you're really on a budget PC, I would literally just say put everything almost off because you're on a budget PC. And yeah, that's everything in the video control panel. Now let's go over to the operators and what attachments you should be using for the best recoil, in my opinion. When it comes to sledge, honestly, just use flash hider. I personally prefer the vertical grip. If you're more of a fan of the angle grip, definitely use it, because, you know, you can be a very aggressive attacker with sledges angled. Usually flash hider just universally overall on everybody. I think if you're personally not using suppressor on operators, you're kind of trolling, because ever since suppressor has, you know, been buffed and there's no damage drop off, there's the slightest amount of recoil maybe added at the most maybe, but I really enjoy just how it feels, because it makes no sense to not use it. Literally, you eliminate bullet tracers, you eliminate any sound. So why would you not use suppressor at this point? There's no damage drop off. There's not like a crazy amount of recoil at it. So my favorite attachment so far is using suppressor on thermites with the 1.5 times scope and the angle grip. There's not that much recoil, and it feels absolutely amazing, especially equipped with the Garfieldisdoc charm, which you guys can get right now by subbing to my Twitch channel. Link is down in the description. With Ash, even with angle grip now, it feels like she has basically no recoil. I like to keep flash hider and angle grip. One of my new favorite additions is the 1.5 times scope on all these guns that usually we just have a 2.0. Personally, I love to use angle grip with a good old suppressor, and this is honestly what all my loadouts look like. I'm looking like I'm playing a Call of Duty game with these goddamn suppressors. It kind of sucks that you can't universally select suppressors for all your weapons. I wish Ubisoft kind of added that in, but I guess it does make sense. It just kind of sucks that I have to go through, you know, literally 60 something operators doing that individually. Now with Sophia, same thing goes. Good old angle grip with a 1.5 times scope and then a suppressor. I haven't really played on my main that much, so I haven't been able to go through all these operators and change all the settings I want. But I think a very underrated and underlooked operator is Lion this season. If you have used Lion with 1.5 times scope, you would understand why I'm saying this, especially with the angle grip. He is overpowered in my opinion, and he is amazing at the moment. Especially with the suppressor equipped, try him out. You will not regret it. Another underrated pick in my opinion is the SMG11. Now you can use the angle grip, vertical grip, whatever you want. I've tried both, and the recoil is very easy. What they've done to the SMG11 is amazing. This thing feels so goddamn good with a suppressor. It honestly feels like I'm playing like with a Mac 10 in Call of Duty or something, but it is my favorite weapon this season. Also, Ella got a buff, so you should definitely try out Ella. Even with a angle grip, she is pretty usable now. I haven't tried suppressor on her sadly yet because I'm a little scared I'm gonna get too much recoil, but try her out. So every single operator, that's what I would be using, is literally just flash hider or suppressor with a 1.5 times scope and angle grip. Now I'm just gonna go through my basic settings, and that's gonna be the video. So basically, I'll have my display performance metrics on advanced, just because I like to see, you know, my render latency and all of that. Connectivity feedback, I just have it on default. I like to just see, you know, I guess. I usually don't know what the icons mean. So, for example, seeing like, you know, packet loss and whatnot, I know what that means. Drone after prep, you basically stay on your drone after the prep phase. This is good for, you know, if you're still droning something out, or you're trying to give your team comms while getting on a cutoff cam. All chat, crossplay matchmaking, all of that, I just have it on non. Doesn't really matter. HUD, I have mine on customize. If you want to copy any of my settings, you can, you know, go ahead. Personally, it's just a HUD. I don't think anything is really, you know, very hit or miss. It's not game changing. When it comes to audio, I use 44, but that's because I have a Go XLR, so a lot of audio is already really loud. I personally use night mode. You know, an audio technician did a YouTube video about this, and ever since then, I've only used night mode because he's proved that it's the best overall audio. Voice chat 76, once again, doesn't matter. 1920 by 1080 full screen using 360 hertz. I play on 3.2 with 90 FOV. I find 3.2 is a good middle ground for a stretch aspect ratio and a, you know, native aspect ratio. VSync, I have it off. I just find VSync makes my game feel delayed, if that makes sense. FPS limit, of course, off. I went through my graphic settings. I'm on 1212 when it comes to my sensitivity, and then this is my ADS sense as the new season because of new recoil. Now, I'm constantly testing new recoil with a new sensitivity, so this might change. Mouse scroll disabled, I find that awful. Gadget deployment advanced, same with drone. Lean is on hold. I mean, lean is on toggle, aim is on hold, sprint hold, toggle. For crouch and prone, walk is on hold. Now, keybinds are all personal preference, but one thing I do want to say, if you guys are using mouse buttons for crouching or anything when it comes to your movement, like leaning, take it off now. You are hindering your performance and you're hindering your aim. When you're literally holding your mouse and you have to press a button, and as you can tell, I just dropped my goddamn mouse because that's how stupid it feels. When you're in a gunfight and you're swiping and you're trying to control your mouse, and then you have to take your finger from resting on the side to pressing a button, you're taking off the balance of your mouse. So you're literally hindering your aim just by pressing this button to try to crouch or prone or whatever. Take it off. I don't care if you've been using it for a year. If you are in platinum elo and under, and you're literally still using those keybinds, that is particularly why you're losing more gunfights. Your aim would be 10 times better when you don't have your crouch and any movement buttons on your mouse buttons. If you don't believe me, then whatever, cool. When it comes to my keybinds, if you want to pause the video and you want to like look through it, that's really on you. I'm just going to quickly go through it. Keep in mind, I have really tiny hands, so this stuff is honestly just personal preference. Accessibility, I only use red, and everything's like basically default, beside my chat being on 119. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you like, sub, and comment, and let me know your thoughts and opinions on today's video. And besides that, thank you so much for watching the video.